a lot of sexual energy coming across.
Like with a hatchet.
He wants 5 times the royalties that the Beatles are getting. He wants a $200,000 advance.
So Led Zeppelin we were.
Here is the guy who's the glue that holds it all together.
We were on the right track.
Really overwhelming.
To go to New York and come back with $200,000 was almost daylight robbery.
And then we're going into San Francisco.
I was concerned that I wouldn't feel home there at all.
We never heard anything like that.
An astonishing feat, you know, the drummer from hell, where did he come from?
And during the drum solo, I was standing there with Jonesy and I just said to Jesus Christ, where'd you find this guy?
It's a funny thing, you know, you couldn't play big gigs in England.
Couldn't go back to mommy then. It's over.
We'd never heard the like of this before.
The intensity is building, it's positively evil.
I have no idea what it's about.
Is what really makes the band. I believe that can be done because this is what happened.
I've been dazed and confused, so long it's not true.
Before the stadiums, before the legends, there was a raw, loud, and fearless band called Led Zeppelin.
What a woman never bargained for you.
And their journey didn't begin with fame. It began on tiny stages, shaking the walls of clubs and college halls.
I said you hurt and abused, telling all of your lies.
Led Zeppelin's very first live performance took place at a teen club in Gladsaxe, Denmark. Back then, they were still billed as the New Yardbirds, a nod to Jimmy Page's previous band. The lineup was freshly assembled. Jimmy Page on guitar.
Lead guitar, Jimmy Page.
John Paul Jones on bass and keyboards.
On bass guitar, John Paul Jones. John Paul Jones.
And John Bonham on drums.
On drums, John Bonham.
Robert Plant on vocals.
And myself, Robert Plant.
From the moment they launched into their set, the chemistry was undeniable. The crowd may not have known what hit them, but the band did. They were onto something powerful. The short Scandinavian tour served as a crucial testing ground. Night after night, the band honed their sound, tightening the bond between each member.
They had a tour of Scandinavia around September '68. They came back and went into the studios in October. And really the purpose of the tour was to take the material out, test it in front of an audience, see what worked well, discard what didn't work so well, and then come back with the ability to go in and make an album fairly quickly. That's the essence of it. It's live performance. It's the real feel of the whole thing. It's not something that's been procrastinated over for months. It's let's go in and play rock and roll.
Audiences were shocked by the intensity. Even though the band was new, their performances already carried an electric, almost dangerous energy. This wasn't just another British blues act. This was something else.
Off to Scandinavia, we went for our first concert as the Yardbirds. And we went on an aeroplane, me and John sitting next to each other, having a cigarette, seeing lots and lots of silverware, knives and forks in front of us. Stuff that we would normally have stolen was there in profusion. We couldn't have even got enough of it in our bags to get off the plane without having somebody help us. It was great. Everything was there. Gin, tonic, people being kind and charming, air conditioning. It was off we went. But what could you do? Couldn't go back to mommy then.
The band officially dropped the New Yardbirds and adopted the name Led Zeppelin.
Rather than keep the Yardbirds name, the group became strong enough for me to start fresh, and it was a decision that we changed the name.
A cheeky nod to The Who's Keith Moon.
Keith Moon had suggested the name Led Zeppelin, and I thought that would be a great name to use.
And I thought, yeah, that's a terrible name. Nobody's going to remember that. But I couldn't come up with a better one, so Led Zeppelin we were.
So suddenly I was a dad and I was nearly married. And I was in this group that was now going to be called Led Zeppelin.
Their first gig under the new name took place on October 25th, 1968. Zeppelin began tearing through small clubs and colleges across the UK.
It's a funny thing, you couldn't play big gigs in England. You'd say you want to take some dates on Led Zeppelin, and all this sort of thing. And, people wouldn't even book the band.
The big break came when they crossed the Atlantic.
The chemistry to make Led Zeppelin work was a combination of experience, brass neck, of course incredible talent, and the look and the presence to carry it off. You had the experience of Page and Jones. You had the brass neck of Peter Grant, who went off to Atlantic Records. He wants 5 times the royalties that the Beatles are getting. He wants a $200,000 advance. He wants complete artistic control right down to sleeve design, everything, no interference from the company. And crucially, because they were such fans of soul music as well as the blues, the rock acts on Atlantic went through their Atco division record label. Led Zeppelin wanted to be the first rock act on Atlantic who would be on the Atlantic imprint. And Ertegun and Wexler very wisely said yes to everything.
So Atlantic decided that the record is going to come out on the 12th of January, but only in America. So Peter gets a tour together for us.
It was Christmas Eve, I think we had to leave.
You suddenly find the albums coming out, and we sort of had to go to America to play, I was concerned. I wouldn't feel home there at all.
Pat kept saying, I told you not to work with him. But she and my wife, Maureen, were really good friends. So they had a mutual overview of celebration for what John was doing and what I was doing. And we just rolled with it.
Everything is traveling like wildfire. The whole thing is just building. People are bashing down the doors to get in by the time we played Boston Tea Party, because we were working across the States from the West Coast to the East.
Led Zeppelin's first U.S. tour began on December 26, 1968, supporting Vanilla Fudge and Spirit.
Carmine and John Bonham picked up such a great repartee. They used to watch each other and mimic each other and play little parts. It was a great exchange of energies between everybody.
There was 5 shows with the Vanilla Fudge. It was actually in the one in Oregon where I really realised. And during the drum solo, I was standing there with Jones here, and I just said to Jesus Christ, where'd you find this guy?
With Atlantic, they wanted Jimmy Page because he had a name with the Yardbirds, but they didn't know who Led Zeppelin was. So when the deal was first brokered, it was about signing Page. But when he said, well, I've got a group and we're going to call it Led Zeppelin and it's a 4-man group and this is what it is, then it changed a bit. And Atlantic were actually they weren't certain about signing Zeppelin. There was, a couple of weeks, I think, where what are we going to do? And obviously Grant was holding out for a very big deal. It was $200,000, which was the biggest deal of the time.
To put it into perspective, in 1968, a huge advance in America would have been $20,000. That would have been considered lavish. To go to New York and come back with $200,000 was almost daylight robbery. He knew he had the product. Ultimately, he knew Led Zeppelin were the goods. He knew Jimmy was the guy. And Jimmy, for his part, knew that there wasn't going to be any other manager in the world that could do for him what Peter Grant did. And so when Jimmy said he wanted to put out albums that had no name, that's what they did.
From the handful of dates with the Fudge, Then we go to the Whiskey A Go-Go in LA, and then we're going into San Francisco.
But by the time the tour ended in February 1969, Zeppelin had all but stolen the spotlight.
The album is already being played on the underground radio.
Word spread fast about the British band, thunderous drummer.
An astonishing feat, you know, the drummer from hell, where did he come from?
We could not believe what we were hearing. We never heard anything like that. We never heard a drummer play like that. Bonham's bass drum was unbelievable.
Bump, bump, the rhythm section comes in, we've stated something and left a little pause, and then again, and then it just builds into the vocals, really strong singing, then the guitar break. It's something that, it kind of takes you by the hand and introduces you to what Led Zeppelin do, almost. An introduction to the orchestra, as it were.
And people are really curious to see this band that they're hearing.
With the wild singer.
So we were going to go in there like with a hatchet.
He had been very seasoned in the blues and in West Coast rock. And I think when you put that together, there was a lot of texture in his voice. The thing with Robert at the time, he committed himself so much to a song. You know, when you heard Robert Plant get involved in a song, you heard him involved in it in such a way that he lived it. And I think that's what came out of the early Led Zeppelin days again. He was given the freedom to sing how he wanted. Jimmy never said, "This is how I want you to sing."
There's an enormous amount of kind of emotion in there, a lot of kind of raw passion, quite sexual, a lot of sexual energy coming across.
We're backstage at the Fillmore, and Peter Grant says, "Well, whatever happens, if you don't crack it here, it's over."
And a guitarist who played solo.
The sound of Page's guitars, it was just, we heard about this band. This was a new English supergroup, and we'd heard Cream, we knew about Cream, but it was a moment in time that it got to me.
And just play like we'd never played before, just throw everything that we'd got into it.
The anticipation was overwhelming. I mean, really overwhelming.
Their shows at venues like the Fillmore West and the Whiskey A Go-Go became legend.
We knew after that one that we were on the right track.
You've got two amazing frontmen in the group. You've arguably got an amazing third frontman in the drummer. Here is the guy who's the glue that holds it all together. So he was, you know, kind of an eminence gris in a way. You know, he didn't draw attention to himself in the obvious ways. But just as with the others, without him, there couldn't have been any Led Zeppelin.
You know, they nail their colours to the mast from the very beginning. You know, this is not a band who are sort of shy about their sound or unsure about what they're doing. You know, this is an unbelievably confident swagger. And it's, you know, this is us, and love it or lump it.
Rock and roll with Led Zeppelin. Robert Plant is here, and I know you feel real good now.
On FM radio, they would play one side of your record and back announce that side. Have one word from a sponsor, and then play the other side. People would just listen to it and then go, and they're playing in your town tonight. And so they'd all come on down.
Promoters quickly realized Zeppelin didn't belong in support slots. They were headliners.
What makes this so special, of course, is that they were just starting out. And you know, just to hear it sometimes sends shivers down your spine.
Why these gigs mattered.
The venues are jam-packed, so what people are hearing as opposed to what they're reading is what really makes the band.
Led Zeppelin's early gigs were more than just performances. They were declarations.
I knew what we had, and I just really wanted to knock everybody dead with it.
The band didn't ease into the music scene. They attacked it with confidence and skill that belied their short time together. Each night on stage added fuel to their momentum.
It was exciting to be doing these concerts and being able to have this communion with the four of us and be able to just change, with things with a sense of humor or an intensity or a real level of aggression or whatever.
I've been dazed and confused, so long it's not true.
By mid-1969, they were already a sensation.
And this is how connected we are, that we can be moving in any direction and everyone's following. Certainly if the guitar's leading, they're all following. I can just hold back and change this. I mean, the improvisation is just at an extraordinary level.
I said you hurt and abused, telling all of your lies.
These shows captured the band at their rawest, tight, fiery, and a little unpredictable.
An exocet missile in sound just gets crazier and crazier. I have no idea what it's about. But it just tears the place up. It's an incredible little performance, and I don't know where it came from, but I'm glad it did.
The intensity is building, it's positively evil.
I told you, baby, time and time and time again.
Fans who witnessed these early gigs often say they never saw anything quite like it again.
Oh, this was just... We'd never heard the like of this before.
Zeppelin would go on to conquer the world, but those early gigs, that's where the legend began. Before the private jets, the sold-out arenas, and the mythic status,
Zeppelin was a hallmark band because they had the perfect elements at the perfect time in the perfect place.
Led Zeppelin was just 4 guys blowing the doors off tiny venues and proving themselves night after night.
Gig after gig, night after night. Maybe we had 20 songs to choose from at that point in time. Soon we'd have 40.
Those early gigs weren't just the start of a career. They were the birth of a movement in rock music. And if you were lucky enough to be there, you didn't just see a concert, you witnessed history in the making.
If you have something that you know is different in yourself, then you have to put work into it. You have to work and work and work. But you also have to believe in it. But as long as you can stay really true, your aim is true, you can realize your dreams. I do believe that. I believe that that can be done because this is what happens.